Hey, today we're going to be talking about how to find off-market apartment and commercial real estate deal flow. You were doing this with your hand. I wasn't sure if you were changing. All right, so I don't have anything against on-market properties. In fact, I think a lot of people neglect looking on the MLS or on LoopNet and some of these general solicitation type of websites. And because they neglect it, there's a lot of deals just kind of sitting there. But on-market deals aren't necessarily bad. At the end of the day, you got somebody who raised their hand, called up a realtor, gave them all the due diligence, gave them all the information, handed over all that stuff, said, I want to sell my property, and then listed it publicly for everybody to see. It's a pretty motivated seller, if you ask me. However, the secret to always having deal flow is not only attacking the on-market stuff, but having a tranche and multiple paths to off-market, direct-to-seller, no competition type of deals. And that's what we're gonna be talking about here today. And by the way, at the end of this video, I have an action plan for you to implement what you're about to learn. So make sure you stick around until the end of the video. And secondly, make sure you implement it. So the first place I would go and look would be your existing email database. I remember early on in my career, I'd collect all these business cards and stuff from people, and I just dump them into a drawer. And eventually, I just didn't want to look at those business cards anymore, so I put them all into an Excel spreadsheet. And I had some different tabs where here's all the lenders, here's all the contractors, here's all the attorneys and legal and appraisers and all the different people that I met in the real estate world, flippers, wholesalers, brokers, agents, whatever. And I never knew what I could eventually do from it. And then I realized that I could do email marketing. And that was an easy, low-cost, shotgun approach to finding deals. But the messaging had to be accurate and had to be quality in order for people to, one, open up the email, two, read the email, three, respond to the email. And so a lot of the initial deal flow I got was from me sending an email to that organically grown email list saying, I'm looking for apartments in Cleveland, Ohio, up to $5 million. I'm sitting on cash, send me everything you've got. If you send it to me, I'll either pay you a fee or maybe kick you some equity in the deal. So here's what that does. It's very specific. If you just generally shoot out, hey, I'm looking for any properties in this, you're gonna get a bunch of crap. So be specific. I'm looking in this area, this size, this asset class, so people can very specifically think and identify the things that you're looking for. Then from there, what's in it for them? Why would they ever want to take the time in order to send you something? What, just as a favor? No, I'd actually tell them that I'd pay them either a fee or kick them some equity in the deal for making the referral over to me. I don't get into the granular side of how much it is or what percentage or anything like that. Hey, send me the deal. Based on how good of a deal it is, what the specifics look like, I can either give you a little bit more equity or a little bit more of a fee or a little bit less or whatever that looks like, but I'll make sure that you're taken care of. So if you don't already have some sort of an email database created, go out and create one. Another place that my team looks for off-market deal flow is through for sale by owners and for rent by owners. Obviously, there's FSBOs, there's places like Craigslist that you can look, you can drive around and look for sale signs. But the for rent by owner is pretty interesting because you can call up and look up for rent by owner, call up those owners, say, hey, I'm not interested in renting your apartment, I'm interested in buying the whole building. Do you have any interest in selling? And that gets you direct to the seller, having a conversation. They're not marketing for sale, so there's not a bunch of brokers hitting them up. There's not a bunch of other buyers hitting them up. So you can have a very direct conversation with them about buying that deal. Maybe go take a walk through and develop that conversation because now you have their phone number and you could follow up with them on a regular basis. I just mentioned, driving around seeing a sign that was for rent by owner, for sale by owner. Driving for dollars can be a great way of finding deals. Just like there's single family houses with boarded up windows and tall grass and that look real disheveled. There's apartment buildings with boarded up windows and tall grass that look disheveled. And you can go and identify those. They might not be on the market. They might not be leasing units because they could be vacant, but you can identify those, talk to the neighbors on either side, or call up the building department, figure out who the owner is, look it up online, do a skip trace, and then start sending emails, start sending text messages, making phone calls, sending snail mail. Another really cool way of sourcing deals is by looking up Google reviews. This is kind of one of those sneaky around the back door kind of ways, because if you look up apartment buildings in Sheboygan, Wisconsin, and see what all the apartment buildings are that pop up and what their Google reviews are, the ones with the lowest reviews typically have angry tenants. which means things aren't getting taken care of. Phone calls aren't being answered. The deferred maintenance isn't being handled. And there's probably some sort of distressed management situation and distressed financial situation in those deals with low Google reviews. Find out who those owners are. Again, go through that process of skip tracing, reaching out to them in many different ways, and hop in there and say, hey, looks like you got some problems, looks like you got some issues going on over here, looks like you don't have a lot of very happy tenants. I'd be interested in taking on those problems, taking them off your plate, letting you move aside, and I'll buy that apartment complex or that commercial property from you. Another great way is a public record search and just looking up who's got delinquent taxes. Maybe there's some that have delinquent water bills or liens on the property, things like that you can look up in your general area and reach out to the owners that have delinquent property taxes or delinquent utility bills. You know that those properties are not paying their bills, which means they're probably in a distressed financial situation, which creates opportunity for somebody like you and me who want to come in, buy the property, help eliminate a headache from the current seller, and then create a big opportunity, a big upside for us to come in and reposition that asset, lease it up, make sure all the bills get paid, and then have a stabilized property for a long-term hold. Another great place to look is actually on the MLS, on Zillow, on LoopNet. Those are on-market listings. I'm talking about the off-market portion of that. The expired listings, the withdrawn listings. These are things that sat on the market for, let's call it, at least 6 months, did not sell at the price point that they were asking because they were asking too high of a price point. There comes a realization in a seller's mind when a property sits on the market for 6 months, no offers come in, no acceptable offers come in, and then it just falls off the MLS, or it falls off LoopNet, or it falls off Zillow. You being able to come in and then have a conversation with that seller allows you to say, hey, obviously this thing was overpriced. Obviously this thing isn't worth what you were asking for. Let's get a more realistic number in front of you. And now there's an awareness that comes in with the seller. The other thing is you could reach out. If you can't get a hold of the seller, just reach out to the broker. So the value there to the broker is that they already lost the listing, right? They have nothing else to lose and everything to gain by you reaching out and saying, hey, I'll pay you the commission if you make this introduction or you just present this offer to the seller. You already have the rapport built, you already have the connection, you already have an understanding of what they're looking for. Let me make an offer through you, present it to the seller, and maybe we can get a deal done. And so that's a very smooth way of then approaching the expired listings and the withdrawn listings on the MLS and on LoopNet. Another great place for a ton of deal flow where there's always stuff happening is in different local masterminds, real estate investors associations, landlord associations, or different kinds of like real estate and industry meetups that are happening in your town. These are all people with a common interest in real estate in some capacity, and they're always coming across deals. There's always deals being sold, always deals being bought, always funding in those kinds of rooms. Make sure you're plugging into those rooms, make sure people know who you are, and make sure you're staying relevant and top of mind in your local community. And if you're doing it in person, make sure you're doing it virtually as well on social media. There's a ton of groups on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on TikTok, and make sure you're staying relevant and posting on a regular basis. I truly believe if you do not have a social media presence, you are irrelevant, right? Like, people don't know who you are. You do not exist. If people can't look you up, if people don't know what you do not exist, right? Especially if you have a business that you're trying to grow and trying to build. If you don't have an online presence for that, like if there's one metric that is the most important thing that I do, that I measure on a weekly basis, it is exactly this: creating content for social media to continuously stay relevant in the space. Because this then creates deal flow, money flow, opportunities, investments, connections with people. All those kinds of things come from staying relevant on social media. So make sure you're consistently creating content. And there's companies that'll do it for you, right? Reach out to Legacy Digital. They're a phenomenal company that does all sorts of social media marketing and automates all of it, where they can stay consistent where you are consistently inconsistent, and they take that off your plate. Now, another really good one is that some communities also have in their local building departments a list of properties in their community that have violations on them. For instance, Lakewood, Ohio, which is where my office is located, has a list of every property, both residential and commercial properties, that have violations. I think they rank it from like 1 to 4. 1 meaning minor violations, 2 meaning a little bit more violations. 3 and 4 have a lot of violations on the property. And this could be turned up sidewalk, paint peeling, broken windows, or roof shingles falling off, could be anything. And depending on the severity of those damages or how bad of shape the property is in, they rank it from 1 to 4. You could take that list and then just do some reverse engineering on it to reach out to all the owners with 3, 4, maybe even the 2s that have a lot of violations on the property, and reach out to them because they're not obviously being handled, and reach out to them to see if you can take those headaches off their plate. Maybe you can buy the property, pay them out, get them out of the way, you take over those things. Now the city loves you because you're taking a distressed property and making it clean, safe, and functional, and allows you to find some great deals that way. And the final one, where there's a lot of motivated sellers, is Eviction Court. Go to Eviction Court. Go and start handing out business cards. Start figuring out who the real estate attorneys are, who the management companies are, who the landlords are, who are always in eviction court dealing with headache properties. Those are typically pretty motivated individuals, or they're directly correlated or directly 1 degree away from very motivated individuals. And if you can be a resource to them to buy headache properties from a management company and be a good landlord and let the management stay with that management company, it allows you to get in between and find off-market deals. If you can get in with the real estate attorneys who are representing the landlords who aren't taking care of the properties or have a bunch of problematic tenants, it allows you to step in and say, hey, if your guy wants to sell, if your owner wants to sell, let me know, and I'll come in and I'll buy this property, and I'll deal with the eviction, I'll deal with the headaches. Now, I might not want to take on a distressed property today, but earlier in my career, I'd be all about that. And there's definitely people in different stages of their journey who would be willing to take on a headache property, or who are a little bit later that they just want to wipe their hands of it because they have other opportunities or other things that they're focused on that they don't want to have to deal with it. So do not prejudge any opportunity. Do not prejudge any deal. Do not prejudge or make up decisions in a seller's mind that you don't hear directly from their mouth. Reach out to everybody, and you gotta swing the bat. You gotta make offers on everything, because otherwise the answer's always no. So here's what I want you to do. Here's your action plan. I want you to take 2 or 3 at most and work them steadily for the next 30 to 60 days. Every day, attack 2 or 3 of these different mediums of sourcing off-market deals and make offers every single day. I would make it a goal of making at least 5 offers every day, 5 days a week, 25 offers a week. So over the next 30 days, you've made 100 offers on properties. You're gonna start figuring out where the ratio appears and which different deal source is gonna create the most lead flow and the most deal flow for you to close. And then you can lean in heavy on those. You might find a couple that don't bring good lead flow at all, and you can discard those for your market and substitute in one of these other strategies that I provided. But you gotta give it minimum 30 days. Attack it for 30 days and see what kind of momentum builds. And the ones you like, lean into. The ones you don't like, discard, and keep on replacing the bad ones with better good ones. And you're gonna keep on elevating your game and elevating your lead gen proportionately as you do this over time. So hopefully that was a ton of good information. And as you put this into play over the next 30 days, I want to hear in the comments what your best strategy was and what's working best for you in your local market. So appreciate you being here. Please like the video. Please make sure that you're subscribed to our channel, and stick around because we have more content coming on how to find deals, how to raise money, and how to increase your operations and refine your company in order to build a massive real estate portfolio.